To our very first visiting artist this semester. So this is exciting. The Artist Now series has been going for at least half a decade or more, and we always get, especially in the art department, thrilled about this schedule. And having visiting artists come in from around the country and around the world, it is just a special event and a very significant series that happens here. And it's also home to an academic class. The Artist Now series has two classes that meet in here. Art 309, which is art students, obviously, and Art 105, which is open to students across the university. So what I'd like to say is really to the Art 105 students who might be new to this format is 8 times a semester we have visiting artists. We know the schedule's obviously in your syllabus, and for all those who are not in the university or guests in the community, you can always access our schedule on the Peck School of the Arts website. Just search Peck School of the Arts Artist Now, and you'll see our whole schedule. So the way it works when we have a visiting artist is this classroom becomes a public lecture hall that's free and open to the public, and we invite everyone from the community and across the university to come and join us for these artist talks. When the artist presents, it is her floor. The artist will present for an hour, sometimes more, sometimes less, whatever the artist would like to present. And then usually, always actually, we have a question and answer period, which is fascinating. And it's a chance for you folks to dialogue and ask questions to our artists. Then typically, when the talk is over, when the question series is over, I invite people to come down if you'd like to meet the artist, introduce yourself, ask more private questions or so forth. The artist usually is here for 15 minutes, and during that time, my class, which is about 95 students, goes on break. And then you return. You return for about 8:30 to 9:30, and we carry on. So I wanted to say that for the first class, so I didn't want the students to think, oh, the event's over. We're on break after the event, then we come back. And so the other thing I want to mention is next week. Next week we have a visiting artist as well. So come back, those of you who are in the class, those of you in the Peck School of the Arts, across the university community, come back and join us next week for Renee Zettel-Sterling and see her talk. We actually have a number of Artists Now talks in a row. I believe the next 5 Wednesdays are all Artists Now talks. So one thing I want to share before I introduce Chris Benavides, who will introduce our guest, is just so you know the structure of this. The process of inviting visiting artists in the Peck School of the Arts is very democratic. There's 2 faculty members that kind of spearhead it, and different professors and departments put forth names of artists that they would like to see, that they would hope to see to present from anywhere around the country and the world. So we have a great diversity of artists represented because each department within the Peck School of the Arts and the Fine Arts are bringing forth people from their specific majors, and a lot of these majors interlap. So the artists you see tonight will be completely different than the artists that you see next week and the week after that. It's night and day, and we honor that, and we celebrate that. A other factor of the Artists Now series that we specified is that we really represent a gender balance well, a race balance well, and a medium balance well. So that is some of our factors for choosing artists. So it's an exciting and a diverse series that happens all semester long. Last thing I want to share is just as the instructor of this course, something I've been doing for about the last 4 years, is I have a little bit more of a forceful mission of really changing the culture of Artists Now. And I see a very large audience today, which is really humbling because I know my class would fill about half this room. So I'm seeing a lot of people that aren't in my class tonight, and I think that's wonderful. What I mean by changing the culture is, especially for the art students and the working artists, that this series is for you. It's for everyone. It's for the Art 105 students, it's for the community, the non-art majors, but it's really important. It's important for the students to be here. It's important for the culture that Wednesday night means Artists Now. It's important for the instructors to share that, even though we know students work, they have other classes. But us as artists, especially young artists, we should be in it to win it. Meaning that you absorb all you can while you're here. You see as much art This is so vital because not only do we see incredible artists who do interesting work, the students learn what it's like to be a professional artist and all the different paths and the way we merge. And so I've been really quietly saying to my students and instructors, there's only 8 visiting artists a semester about. Let's make sure it's just students are here for 3/4 of them. So I invite people to take on that quiet mission of, and also sharing this with friends, other artists. Not all of us are so lucky to be in a great university and take classes. Share it with your community. Invite people from your neighbors, your other friends who you know are artists. Come to the series. Come be inspired. Come learn. It is a public university, and this is a public lecture series. So that's my opening semester spiel of just the vitality and the importance of the series, and the fact that it's something we should share and promote and celebrate with everyone we know. So, Chris, please introduce our guest.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Thank you very much, Nicholas. Can you hear me? I'll be brief, I hope. How would I introduce Kukuli? I'm not going to give you her bio because it's very long, and I hope that we will hear it through her presentation today. I just met, oops, let me put this. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Good. I met Kukuli in 2012, basically. The first time I really ran into her, we had time to talk. It was a few years early in Lima after a show that we were included. But we met her with Karen at the study abroad group at the summer of 2012, in June, in a one-person show that she had in the Instituto Cultural Peruano Norteamericano, I'll translate for you, is the Cultural Institute of Peruvian American Cultural Institute. It's a large center with a huge gallery, with an incredible, beautiful space. They're pretty well endowed, and we had taken this whole floor, with several rooms. And it was a series of her recent work. It was not all your work. And she was doing work in progress through a large drawing, and painting, and ceramics. Kukuli is across the board. She's not really she doesn't declare herself a ceramic artist. She considers herself an artist. But I knew of Kukuli a long time ago. The first time I saw her piece was in the gallery in New York, then in Garth Clark, and then the Freeman Gallery, is that? Yeah, Barry Freeman. And I never knew. I said, who is she? So it was a pleasure to hear her talking in Lima. And after the presentation with a group of you that are here, some of you, we decided, wouldn't it be great to have her come to Milwaukee? So it took me a lot to convince her to come, because Kukuli is a mother of a 2-year-old. And she says, a year ago, how am I going to leave my baby? So I said, yeah, you can. So this is the first time it's okay for me to say that she's leaving her child for the first time. We're not going to. So, but it's okay. I'm glad that she came. And, but beyond that, Kukuli has accomplished a lot of things. She left Peru some time ago, ended up in Mexico. She'll tell you a little bit about it, I hope. And then from Mexico, after a while, she ended up in New York, where she lived in 10 years. Sort of, and she was a squatter, right?
I lived in a squatter building without kids.
Okay, but she was going to art school at the same time. And
didn't pay any rent.
didn't pay any rent free, what the hell, it's America. Okay. And she will tell you, I won't spoil the story, but then after that, really working very hard and trying to make a living, and Mexico wasn't that easy either. She ended up in the Clay Studios of the visiting artist in Philadelphia. Since then, she's been 9 years in Philadelphia. 15, sorry. 15 years in Philadelphia, where she is a full-time artist and works
So far.
so far. So I'm going to let her talk about her work. On top of that, she has a lot of accomplishments. She has shown in the Museum of Contemporary Art in New York. She has shown let me go slow down. After attending and getting a BFA in Andrews College, and then being in Philadelphia, she has shown in the Museo del Barrio, Museum of Contemporary Art, among others, in New York. Her solo exhibit has been with Garth Clark and the Freeman Gallery in New York, as well as the John Michael Collier Art Center several years ago in '07. Is that right? '01. And then she's been in the International Biennial in Lima, Peru, many years ago in 1999. So that show in Lima was after a hiatus of being in Peru. And I remember after you left, and people in Lima, who was she? Everybody was talking about, have you heard of her? It's amazing, you gotta see that show. So, and she's left such an impact that when I was in Lima briefly this summer, I ran into the director of the New Contemporary Museum of Art and told me, oh, we are having her next year. And I said, really? Yeah, she's going to do an intervention with the museum, the Archaeological Museum, La Herrera, and this is a project in progress.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge for everybody, you know. So hopefully she will let us know a little bit about it. So she's really rocking right now. She's being published in different magazines around the world, Germany, Ceramic Magazine in Germany, in Spain, in Latin America. So I'm glad that we have her here. She has received other awards. Among them is the, let's see, the Yi-Wei Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. And the Pew, what is it now? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. But it's a very prestigious, the Pew, one of the big ones. Then she has names like you recognize, the Paula Cuddy Foundation grant. Yeah. And Anonymous is a woman. The Pew Foundation, another one very interesting, is she got recognition for fight for freedom and expression from the Andy Warhol Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Mercer Cunningham Foundation, and MoMA. So she's very, I had to get this out of her. And there's more, but I think you came here to hear me. I think you came here to hear Kukuli Velarde. It's a pleasure to have you, and thank you for coming.
Let me see if I can put this in a way that you can hear me. I was just telling a moment ago that this is for men, because men have shirts and then they can hook it up. And how about me? All right. Thank you for coming. And I hope you can hear me well. Can you hear me well? You may not understand some things that I say because my English is awful. I've been living 25 years in the United States, and yet I haven't been able to master it, and I don't think that at this point I will. So if there are some words that by any chance don't sound right, please work with me and imagine what I'm saying. As he said, I just left my 2-year-old daughter. She's one of my best accomplishments because I had her at 47, and I always think that to have a baby at that age is, it's like having an exhibition. It's a moment that puts things that, make me happy. When I present my work, I feel like I have to talk a little bit about where I'm coming from. Because it's important in order to understand artwork at this point to see what is the experience of the artist. If what they say is legitimate, is a product of the heart, or is a product of the mind, or is a product of both of them, is a product of a lot of years, or is just something that happens and doesn't have too much background. I have been working about the idea of colonization and what it means to the population of Latin America today for most of my professional life. And I don't really care too much if it is something that is trendy or something that there are a lot of people interested about. I think that as an artist, you want to say whatever you want to say, no matter who wants to listen to it. Because the most important obligation that you have is with yourself. If you don't say something that you really feel, that you really mean, no matter what it says, it will never have resonance. And I think that, to me, it's important. I am a very selfish artist, that's why it took me so long to have a kid. And, but anyway, so, I don't know if all of you know where Peru is, but just in case, I put Latin America, and as you can see, Peru is over there. So we are clear what it is. And Peru is divided in several regions, but the major regions are the coast, the mountains, and the jungle. I am from the area of the mountains. I come from the town of Cusco. Have anybody not heard about Cusco? Okay, have you heard about Machu Picchu?
Okay.
Okay, Machu Picchu is in Cusco. And Machu Picchu was a construction built by the Incas, and Cusco was the capital of the empire, of the Inca Empire. And this is Machu Picchu. And this is something that I've seen many times in my life. And I think that an artist is a product of what he or she sees. And this is what I saw. And I think that in part, because I saw this, my artwork is what it is now. I think that whatever you have seen when you were growing up is what has made you an artist, or will make you an artist. And I think that we just have to embrace what we come from, whatever it is, because the richness of our work, I think, and that's my opinion, I'm not saying that this is the truth, but to me it enriches your voice. This is the main square of Cusco. Behind you see the cathedral. Oh, sorry, I was looking at that before. And that's me. And these are images of Cusco, of Lima. You have colonial, you saw before archaeological sites. Now you see colonial buildings. That's the main square of Lima. This is one of the beautiful Republican, old Republican buildings in Barranco. And this is what I see from my mother's balcony. And as I took this photo, there was a procession of some, I think it's the Lord of Earthquakes. No, the Lord of what? Lord of Miracles. And people are very, very religious, which I never noticed, to be honest. My family has never been religious. Lima is not just that, Peru is not just that. We also have cities, and the most important city is the capital, which is sometimes a problem. Many people come to live in Lima from everywhere in Peru because it's where you find the best options for studying and for working and so on. Lima has, I was raised in Lima. Lima has 8 million people. So we are talking about a major city. And I always stress this because sometimes I have had people asking me to say something more about my village. And Lima is not a village. Some of these images are from Lima, from the very impoverished neighborhoods, like the one at the bottom, the Chinatown to the left, and where people who have a lot of money live, which is near the ocean. And we have all these different landscape, different images. And we also have the people of Peru. People from different strata, from different traditions, from different everything. And we, of course, have the religious iconography that it follows us everywhere. I always say that I am Catholic culturally. You know, all the sentiment of guilt and all fears and all that comes definitely from this guy. And they are an influence to me. And there's also the traditional arts. So all these things are from different parts of Peru. And all of this was the things that I saw. So when I was studying at Hunter College, I would tell people that I didn't grow up seeing Rubens and Caravaggio and going to the Metropolitan Museum and seeing everything firsthand. I saw those in books. What I saw firsthand was everything that I just showed you. These are my parents when they still loved each other. Which are also important part of one's formation. And I was a prodigious child. I don't know if it's obvious to be saying it, but what can I do? I was drawing since I was 3, and I was drawing and painting every year. I had my first exhibition when I was 10. I had an exhibition every year, and at 21 or so, I just decided that I couldn't handle it anymore. It was too much responsibility. I took advantage, maybe unconsciously, of breaking up with my first boyfriend. I went to Mexico, but that's a story that comes later. And these are some paintings I did through all those years. As you can see, they are more like illustrations. And then finally, my father was like, he loved what I did. My father was very insistent of me painting. And one day I went to Mexico for a month and I stayed 2 years. I met my second boyfriend, a very good looking Mexican guy. And he had a wonderful voice. In those 2 years I was in the Academia San Carlos, allegedly doing a master's degree when I didn't have a bachelor's degree. So I did it as a continuing education. And to be honest with you, at that time, hormones were the ones that I was working with more than anything else. I was getting to know myself. And it was, a very strong love. I don't know if you have ever gone through that experience, but your first big love is really big, it's really painful when he breaks up with you. And when I was also so into, this soap opera mentality. Like I remember clearly telling him from the 5th floor all the way to where he was going by the stairs in the building, where I was living in the patio, in the roof. I was paying only $20 per month, and I was living in the rooms that were for maids. So I was looking down, and he was about to go, and he was saying, I have to go to this thing, and I said my famous phrase, if you go, I don't want to see you anymore, again. And he left, and I said, what do I do now? How can I go back? So, I was heartbroken. I felt like the ground has left my feet, like I didn't know what to do with myself. For me, he was everything. And I was doing art, quote unquote, but I was really understanding myself and probably dealing with a lot of things because my family never let me go out with guys. I never had a male friend throughout, until I was 23. Do you think that's normal? No, right? No. So many opportunities I missed. So, with my heart broken, I went to New York. And in New York, I met Boris Vallejo. Is there anybody who knows who Boris Vallejo is? At least one. 20 years ago, half of you would know. Boris Vallejo is a very well-known illustrator. Very, very well-known, and he's Peruvian. And he tried to teach me to do illustration. He told me I could make $2,000 per week. I just had to make one of these things per week. So he got a bodybuilder. He took photos of the bodybuilder accordingly to drawings I made. And then he gave me the photographs and told me to produce these paintings. Which was the most boring, horrible thing for me to do ever. At that time, I was not understanding that doing Conan the Barbarian was not actually, a very smart thing to do, especially being a woman. But the thing that I did, it was so tedious. I couldn't do illustrations. And even though it was a good opportunity because I was getting into the illustration world with him with his help, I said no. So I continued working as a waitress, and then I was working as an assistant of an artist, and I went into the ceramic studio because I didn't like my painting professor, and I said, I'm not gonna do my BFA in painting, I don't care. I'll do it, ceramic, whatever. And the first semester, I hated it. Don't tell the ceramic teachers we're here now. I hated it. And it didn't have too much meaning to me. But at the second semester, there was this famous celebration of the 500th anniversary of Columbus landing in the Americas. And, I'm very honestly telling you that it bothered me a lot. Because I don't see why a genocide should be celebrated. And then there were people telling me, I know you should be so happy that they brought culture, and they brought language, and they brought, and like, what, people were mute before? No. People didn't have culture, excuse me, but the Paracas, 1,000 years before the Spaniards came, were doing already surgery. So, what do you mean bringing culture to a place in Peru? There were so many cultures that existed one after the other. And when the Spaniards came, the Incas were not the only ones. The Chimus were still there and they got extinct, thanks to colonization. So I was thinking about that and I was so upset. And I was doing this piece and, whatever. I didn't know to feel very well, but I didn't care. And one day, I began putting nails in the piece. And as I was putting nails, I felt something. I felt like finally this piece was talking about something that was in my heart, that was in my guts, that was in my head. And that was the beginning of my career in ceramics. And amazingly enough, I'm showing you the first piece I did of that what could be called a piece. And at the same time was the first piece that I did of a series that I titled afterward, We, the Colonized Ones. And there I was doing my pieces. And it felt so natural that all of a sudden, painting never gave me that. Painting never gave me the opportunity to say something that I really care about. But ceramics did. I did these children that are supposed to be unborn because their parents didn't have opportunity to have them. And I would go with these children one by one in the subway. And I would be carrying it. And then somebody would ask me, oh, you have it? And then I would show it to them. And that was an opportunity for me to talk about what they were about. And I didn't care, I'm very shy person in many ways. And sometimes when I am in situations like this, I shake of fear. Fortunately, right now, I'm fine. But it was something that I cared so much about that I did it. So that was the first series I worked, and that series got me my first representation in New York, Carl Sturwell Gallery. And I got, ideas begin to come one after the other. This is Santa Chingada. In many Latin American cultures, they put women always on pedestals. She's so, I don't have to suffer in order to be good, She's so good, she suffers so much, but she's so good. It's like suffering and being good is something that should go together in a woman. So while many men have the freedom to do whatever they want outside of the house, a woman has to have certain responsibilities that sometimes are hard, to do to have many hats in the house. And on top of that, to be treated as if she were, something less than a man. So I created this saint, who is a woman, who is basically saying to a man, Give me your what's it? Give me give me the nails that you have on your heart. Give it to me. Give me your sufferings. I will take them. The only thing I need from you is your veneration. And this is a recurrent character. I love Santa Chingada. She's how do I call it? The perfect little woman, the mujercita ideal. So I did other pieces, always talking about personal things. Some others that are not very personal. These are the representation of spirits of the mountains. You know, once I went to Cusco and somebody was telling me, there is this Altomisayo, he's a sorcerer, and you go, and I did that, the other is a very interesting experience, and I went with my mom. And then you get to this very rustic house that has only one room in the middle of nowhere, and they stand you up in front of a table, a long table that is against a wall, and then they close all the windows and you cannot see anything. It's completely dark. And then the priest begins to call the identities that are the mountains, that are the land. And they come, and all of a sudden you hear wings, and then boom, something landing in front of you. And then I'm standing up there and I'm, thinking, what the hell is it? And then these boys, voice by voice, they begin to walk over the table. I can feel how they go away and how they come, and I can feel when they are in front of me. And there was a moment in which I thought, does it matter if it's not true? It's not belief about that believing. Who cares if it is true or not? The moment was magical. And I told them I wanted to represent them. And I asked them how they were. And I used my imagination. And I made them. They always come in four. And I made them in the size they seem to be. And this is what I produced. And then came my first breakthrough. My series is Ichapuito. At that time I was with the John Elder Gallery, also in New York. I have had 3 representations in New York since the very beginning. I've been very lucky in that way. There was a piece that I saw in a catalog of the Rockefeller collection at the Metropolitan. And I saw this photo. And I loved it. And I thought, I wish I had made it. I should have made this piece. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I made it. Maybe I made it 2,000 years ago. This is a Huastecan piece, a Mexican piece, that was made 2,000 years ago, and I loved it so much, I really liked it, that I decided to make it again. And I made them 74 times. And this series has been exhibited in many places, in different groupings. That's at the Color Center. This is in Ireland in 2005. 22 of them went on the way to Ireland with me. And as you see, all the pieces are similar to the first pieces. And it was for me an interesting study of surface. And each of them had a different meaning depending on what mood I was. This was in honor of that boyfriend I had in Mexico, the cute one. Because he said that he wanted to die like a dog in the road. This is a piece about getting old. And now I know more what it means. And it's another version of Santa Chingada. This is a piece masturbating. And this is a piece about shame. And this is a piece, the last piece I made when my father died. My father died waiting for me to come back to Lima, to Peru, and paint. Because when I was a kid and I painted, he was always behind me, telling me, this is great, why don't you do this? What? You know, he liked to direct, sort of. And he always wanted me to come back. And when he had a heart problem, and I went to the hospital, and I took some photos of paintings that I was making finally at that time. And some of the paintings were, you know, using my body. And he was at the, you know, like, how good? That's a good painting, huh? And then he would show the photos to his friends, and he would, while the friends were looking at the paintings, he would be looking at their eyes. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? It's hard, you know? You don't know anything. So I'm glad that he saw the work. Even when he was in intensive after his surgery that unfortunately didn't work out, when I got in, there were other 3 beds besides his. All of them just had surgery, heart surgery. And as soon as I got in, my father looked at me and told the others, she is Kukuli. And I couldn't believe that in the 15 minutes that he had been away, he already talked to them about me. That is how much he really loved what I did. And he, you know, at the beginning I was like, oh, you know, you forced me, you made me do. But now I'm thankful because he accomplished one thing, and one thing very important. He never instilled a doubt on me that I was an artist. And I am 50 now, and I have never had a doubt. There's nothing else I could have been. And it's because he always thought that I was the best artist in the world. No doubt. You know, it's not like, oh no, she doesn't. No, he really thought, and I think that was very helpful in some ways. But anyway, so I have a lot of different works. These are cupids, as you see, very well endowed. These cupids talk about love from the point of view of a woman. You know, when I was in San Carlos, there was this Costa Rican guy who thought that he was God's gift to women. Have you girls met guys like that? He thought that, you know, you would pass by and he would always say something, and you know, from 1 to 10, he probably was like a good 7. But he thought he was a 10, you know, and you know, please locate yourself. Contextualize you. See my voice. So he would always pass like, you know, the owner of the world, you know, enjoy me. And one day finally, I was very shy, one day finally he passed by, and I don't know where I got from the idea of saying, Barbie, me encanta. And he was passing like, you know, and then he didn't know what was going on. And I realized that I had, you know, a good possibility to make him understand what it means. So every time that he would pass, I would say something to him, to the point that one day he stopped me. And he said, women shouldn't be saying that. But I'm just admiring you. So I did these pieces, you know, thinking about him. In each of their chests, there is a catcall of women towards men, you know. And one of them, for example, says, oh, I love your intelligence. You know, and what a good shoulders you have, and your body is awesome. You know, all those things that women we don't need to say, but we are thinking about it. But now I'm a married woman and I'm 50, so. received the Bahía of Lima. So after this, you know, one of the things that I think is very important is as an artist, you should do whatever you want to do. Even if people come and tell you, you have already a career, people know you for this or that work, how come you're going to do something different? They are going to think that you're flaky. I don't give a damn about that. I'm sorry. I don't give a nickel about that. And I had an idea that I called toilet waters. And I was telling this to some students before. My father once told me, ay, chingada madre, perdón. I think you know what chingada madre is. Can you hear me? You can hear me? My father once he told me that he liked human shit, that smell of human shit. And I was, as you are, appalled. You know, what do you mean? And when I look at him, in his eye, where was the past, he was looking to something that was not in the room. And I remember that my father was very poor. My father would go with his brothers and sisters and his mother from door to door begging for food when he used to live in a very small village in Cusco. And at that time, they had this, it's not gutter, no.
No, it's like a little creek.
It's like those creeks that cross, you know what? Okay, una sequía. They don't know. You know, there's this water that runs and people pee and do their necessities there and the water keeps going, so you know, you only have to do like this and you're done. The town creek that was for that purpose, and it crossed the village, which was only one street. And then I thought that maybe what he meant was that he liked the smell that brings memories of his mother. And then I thought, not always our fondest memories are going to be surrounded by the most beautiful smells. You don't know what is going to make it special. And nothing is going to make it bad or awful if the experience is something that really moves you. And when I look at him after he said that atrocious phrase, I saw him thinking something, looking at something that I couldn't see. So in his honor, I made this series that I subtitled, All of Us Deep Down Same Shit. And for doing this work, I use real human pieces. And you know, it was a very interesting experience because I had to go to the people of different strata, of different religious belief, of different races, of different everything, and ask them for their pieces. There were people who would say, not even for $1,000 I'm going to give you my shit. You know, I would give for $1,000. So amazingly enough, I got a container and I told them how to do it, and 9 people gave me their pieces. So my first problem was how I'm gonna do for putting these pieces in resin, because you know, in order to put in the resin, it has to be dry, completely dry. So I called to all the taxidermists in the United States because I wanted to freeze dry. And one after one would say no, no, no. And one guy said, yes, but machine is not working now. And then I called him 15 days later and the machine wasn't working still. And I called again a month, and finally one day he said, ma'am, that's not art, that's shit, that's crap. That's crap. And I said, it's crap in art. Because if there is something I'm sure about, is that there's no taxidermist that is going to tell me what art is. I'm not telling him what taxidermy is. So obviously freeze drying was out of the question. So I tried to put it over the radiator in the studio. In the bathroom. It didn't work either. I bought a portable oven. I put it in the patio, in the courtyard. And I turned it up. And then with one of those like scissors that you don't, I was moving it around so that it dried. I'm telling you all of this because I want you to take into account that as an artist, nothing should stop you. And definitely the smell of physics was not going to stop me. I love my idea. And also gave me the opportunity to talk with people about something so personal that I'm sure none of you have talked to your best friend. How long it is, if it's thick, if it's light or dark, if it floats. How many squares do you do? Do you do a little ball? Or you are the organized person? All those things allow me to become instant friends with people. Because there's, not even to your therapist you're going to say something like that. And I think that is something interesting that you can get making art, is to have a connection with your audience. And I can tell you, I love all the work I made it very happy. But this work that I never exhibited was the most fun of all. All the process. What am I doing? And I just love that shape. This was supposed to be the representation of the water inside. I wanted to get a used toilet, because I heard about this Japanese Buddhist cult, I think, that they go to clean toilets, and that is part of the. And I thought, I have never done anything like that. I still don't think that my husband and mom made them. But I wanted to do something that I never did before. And I picked up one from the street, I cleaned it, and with an artist who knew about resins because I don't, we made this. I had fun. Then I used to draw before in my other life, and I brought drawing to my life again. And my drawings are more like a nostalgia sort of how do you say? Memory. It's like thinking about the past. It involves nostalgia. These are drawings that I did so many times when I was a kid that I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. I have no idea what was going to happen. I usually never have an idea what is going to happen. I don't plan these drawings. I go directly with a marker, and I enjoy every minute of it because it's like playing. If it already were designed and I had an idea, it would be too boring. So in this case, I made the first course, and then all the ones that I afterward just came up. And it's a little bit like bringing your childhood back, because you are all those things. You are also the kid that you were before. And to me, to be an artist is to allow yourself to be everything. And this is a series that I worked. I had an exhibition on Garth Clark of this series. These are pieces that are waking up in a topological museum and are thinking, what am I doing here? Where are the people who made me? And they are all based in actual pieces. If you can see, my piece is the one that has my face, and the piece on the right is the original piece that was the inspiration for it. And all these pieces have, part of these pieces, important part of these pieces are the titles. They are racial slurs that are very much in use in Peru, and in Mexico, and everywhere where the pieces are from. And it's a way of talking about what is our society now. And how come is it possible that people go to the Metropolitan Museum to look at these beautiful pieces, while the guy who served the coffee in the deli is the heir of everything that is at that museum. But people don't make a connection, that Mexican guy who should never immigrate here. No, you cannot take this artwork from the Metropolitan Museum. No, they are not going to return it. This is ours. You can take your Mexican guy. So this series is right now about to be part of this series, about to be exhibited at the Nermar Museum of Contemporary Art. And some people see them a little sexual. I actually don't. But I don't mind the interpretation. For me, they are more about. They are all female because they are on my face, and I am a woman. And to me, it's more important what they mean in terms of culture than gender. And I don't consider appropriation, because I am the heir of this. This, as much as for you, it could be the work of Rauschenberg, yours. I consider this mine, and I think that there is not an element. This, by the way, this series is titled "Plunder Me, Baby." And it's about that. I know I've been plundered. I know what has happened. No, I don't like it, but I'm not saying that it's somebody's who is alive's fault. But it's a reality. And this is the pieces with my paintings included in Lima. And I also paint. Santa chingada. And that's me too, but for a different reason. I'm my best model. And also I wanted to see how I age. I think that it's better to face it than to ignore it. Though now that I'm 50, I don't know. This is a pinup wannabe, and I just I put a translucent plastic paper on top of it with designing how I should be in order to be a pinup. I need a little bit of this, and I need a little bit of that. So this painting my father saw. My mother always asked me, why do you have to make yourself so ugly? Why don't you make yourself not like looking nicely? And to me first, not possible. And second of all, I don't think that that's what it's about. I'm not trying to make myself look great. This is me and myself. After my father died, I made this painting. It's a letter to him that I wrote in the background. And then I did the drawings he liked. this painting. I have this painting in my house. I want to put it out, but I don't know what my daughter is going to think about it. This is a Saint Rosa and her Temptations. You know, there is in a small town in Peru, when a woman is in love, she goes to look for the shaman. And then he goes out to the country, but they live in the country, and he catches a little bird that is called the tutupilin. And then he takes a needle with a white thread, and he goes through his heart. And the thread comes red. And then he gives the thread to her, and she's supposed to embroider the name of the man she loves and whose love she wants in a handkerchief with that red thread. And it always seemed to me so crazy that the only one who dies of love is a little bird that has nothing to do with it. So that is my husband's arm and my arm tied by the little arteries and veins of the Turtupilin's heart, because it seems to have that power, so little, so innocent. This is a super martyr. You know, I made this painting. I'm very proud of this painting. I like it. And a friend of mine who's an artist comes, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. It's wonderful. What a great painting, and the way that you have catched the young body of a boy." And I'm like, "That's my butt." He didn't know where to put his pen. He was like, "Oh, no, yeah, what, shut up." And this is another drawing that I did in Barry Friedman in 2010. And after I began the drawing the first day of the exhibitions, and I painted it over in the last day. Because to me, it's an artwork that doesn't belong to anybody, only to memory. So it was a pleasure to do it. And while I was drawing, there was a video of my father talking about me that I have, and I didn't bring it because, it would make it too long. And this is the one I did in Lima. And this is a new series that I'm working on, in which I'm trying, it's a personal research of how two aesthetics that represent one society are living together without really mixing. To me, art is a continuous process of understanding something about you or about what you come from. And I like this thing about syncretism and how pre-Columbian religions survive through the disguise of Catholic images that are 200, 300 years old. And all these pieces are right now in Korea because I've been invited to the biennial. The 5 of them are there, and I'm going in a few days. For 20 days, I don't know how my daughter is. And these pieces are all big. To give you an idea, all have life-size heads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I cannot carry this. That's what I'm married to. And that's it. Thank you very much. So do you have any questions? Like it was an in vitro, for example. Yes.
You said that showing like the genital and stuff like that wasn't sexual. Like, how do you interpret it? Like, is it just like a natural fact and you just sort of like share everything? Or?
Well, I think we all have sex. You know, everybody that is sitting here has either a penis or a vagina. There's no way that one of them is absent. So to me, it's like, if you're doing a human body, it would be more weird to hide it than just if there is there. You know, I mean, you cannot avoid it. You shouldn't avoid it. That says more about your fears than anything else. I don't think that I'm too liberal or anything like that. It's just a reality. Any other questions?
I was wondering how you paint yourself so well. How do you pose and paint yourself at the same time?
I have a mirror.
Obviously, you have to move.
What?
You have to move while you're painting. Just
Yeah, you have to do 200 times the same thing. Because we are moving all the time, that's right. And before was better when I didn't need glasses to read. Now that I need glasses to read, it's getting hard. I haven't painted myself for a couple of years yet, and I work in ceramics now most of the time. But no, I use a mirror. You know, you're your best model because you know exactly what pose you want, and you can work as many hours as you want. And there's nothing more personal than your own body. And there's nothing more universal than your own body, I think.
Yeah.
What year was the Pontoon baby again?
That was from 2006 to 2010.
You said you didn't like to plan those paintings that you're doing, those drawings, you didn't like to plan it? Do you
Yeah, the drawings,
do you treat your sculptures the same way? Like you go into it with an idea, but then nothing's set in stone, you kind of have room to play with it and feel the sculpture out?
Yeah, but basically I work with a photograph, for example, of the religious icon, a photograph of the ceramic pre-Columbian piece that I want to work with, and I just join them as I work. I usually don't do, how do you say bocetos, drafts? I usually don't do that, not even for the paintings. I have not canvas, all of them are aluminum plates, 6x4 feet. They are all life size. And I usually imagine how I want it to look, and then I just go and begin painting the body, and then I modify, you know, I begin to measure and all that stuff. But usually, sometimes I feel like if you plan too much, you know, where's the fun of discovering? Now, that's that's me.
So I'm
I
glad
have
you,
issues.
I'm glad you mentioned the aluminum plates. Can you tell us why you choose to paint on the aluminum plates rather than canvas or wood or some other material?
Well, so far, and I don't think it's going to be forever, but so far I think I painted on canvases since I was 13 until I was 21, 22. And it meant so much a responsibility that I think that my only way for going back to painting was to choose a different support. And I like the paintings on aluminum because they go flush on the wall. And I put them on the wall with bolts. So I like that, you know, that contrast of bolting art.
You spoke a little bit about cultural ownership.
Cultural what?
Like,
Cultural ownership.
yeah, and I was wondering what your thoughts were about artists who appropriate things that are not from their own culture.
It's a very complex issue. basically it's an act of plagiarism. I think that is something that cannot be avoided in this culture because art, particularly in Western art, is based on that. But everything in this culture is based on that. You take the object and you don't take the spirit of the object. You don't take the context of the object, the meaning of the object. You take just the surface of the object. And that is is not acknowledging or respecting. But Western culture is based on that. And there's nothing, it's not something to be like, oh my God, so horrible. It's just what it is. You call things by their name. And there are artists who do incredible things doing it, but the basis is plagiarism. But, also at the same time, it depends on the artist. It depends on what is the connotation that the artist is putting on the work. So it's very complex. You cannot say, all of this is this and dismiss it. It's impossible. But basically, I think that is what has been happening. When they talk about how wonderful work because of the African mask or whatever. Well, first of all, there are a lot of people who don't think that his work comes actually from the African mask. He was an extraordinary artist and he had his own ideas and all that. I don't know. Should he never done, if he actually took them, he should have never done? No, you cannot stop art either. So it's very complex. Yes?
Have you ever had a piece smash?
By somebody?
Well, not some break. Maybe some break. It's like, have you ever had one, like a piece that you spent, like one of those nice round pieces that actually just shattered?
The Chichacuitu series, some pieces were reduced in the film, and it seems that the clay was not taking it. But the funny thing is that the clay was fine for 6, 7 months, even a year. And after 6 months or even a year, they began to crack. And some pieces were completely useless. They cracked in several pieces, in front of my eyes. You could hear them. And they were 5 pieces. Thank God they were not pieces that were falling.
And then the ones with the controlled cracks, like in the center, the ones that you wanted to crack to be there, are those ones more fragile, or have those ones just cracked as a result?
No, that doesn't make it crack. And I have some pieces, the first pieces I made, they are so badly made that have cracks going all the way, and I love the crack because it, gives more drama to a piece. So I never thought I feel so. And so far, yes.
So a lot of your art deals with your relationship with your father and his support as you being his daughter. Do you see yourself changing your art practice now to sort of trade off that relationship as being a daughter still, but also being a mother? So do you see being a mother as sort of something that will influence your art making practice? Do you see yourself being affected by having your new child?
Well, I am in a moment that I think that I have to rethink if I want to consider myself an artist only. I've always been an artist. But I think that it's healthy to consider yourself a person first. Because, for example, I have glaucoma. And it's in the beginning, but it could happen that I cannot see in, let's say, 15 years. Then I will stop making art. Will I stop being me? If I consider myself only an artist, then what will happen when art cannot be made? I think that we have to consider ourselves more than that. And in my case, I like the idea of considering myself a wife, a mother, and maybe I can write when I cannot see, I don't know. And maybe I will see until I'm 80, I don't want to be 5. But it is, I think for me it's important to become more than just an artist. if I don't want to get too depressed. Any other questions? Yes.
You passed over, I think very quickly, the concept of some of the pieces that were your version of some of the pre-Columbian ceramic objects. And you said that you were thinking about what these objects would be like if they woke up in the archaeological museum.
Yes.
And what would they become? Or what would their reaction be? Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because we didn't really see a good installation shot of those objects and how you were thinking about them, because in Lima, they were installed in very interesting ways. Is it possible for you to talk about that without an image here?
Yeah, plantering really comes from the idea of that plantering, you know. And interestingly enough, I didn't know that had a sexual connotation. I really didn't know. You know, when late, like a year after I've been using the title, somebody told me that it has a connotation. And I'm very honest with you, I didn't know that. My English is not that sophisticated. But to me it was literal, you know. And it's like un desafío. It's like a dare, you know. Hey, plant. What else can you do when the person that, or the object that is being planted is owning that? You cannot hurt that person or that object beyond that because it already owns that. So these pieces are waking up and are realizing that they are in a context that they don't belong to, with people they have never seen. They were not the people who made them, and they are not accomplishing the purpose that they were created for. And some of them are afraid, some of them are upset, some of them, you know, each of them have a different attitude. And they are just like a metaphor of what it means to be overpowered by another culture. One thing that always, and I was telling this to Chris's students, one thing that always makes me think, and maybe you can understand if I explain this in this way. Can you imagine if people from another planet came and took over culture and told all of you that forget about voodoo, forget about ceramics and the sculpture in clay or in plaster or graphic design, computer design, whatever, because that is not what they do. Now you're going to do something else, something that you have never seen. Now you're going to depict people that you don't belong to. And that is your purpose from now on. And I cannot imagine how horrific for an artist that would be to be all of a sudden not anymore the center of the universe. Because right now you are the center of the universe. Now the aesthetic that we are working with is your aesthetics, your sense of beauty, your sense of ugliness. What would it happen if somebody takes that away from you? And you all of a sudden are the ugly of the story. You all of a sudden are the short of the story. You know, have you thought about that? That is what happened to them. Now in Peru, that in all the advertisements that you see on TV or in magazines, people look like you. They don't look like us. Because we are ugly for ourselves. And I think that is terrible. It is a problem of today. You know, we're not talking about what happened 500 years ago. We're talking about something that's happening now. And it happens in many cultures. I'm going to go to Korea in a few days, and a friend of mine was telling me, you know, there's a lot of people who do surgery to see more Western, to look more Western. And you know that is something that we cannot do because to clear up your skin, it's not easy. And you can put your hair, you can make your hair blonde, and you can put blue contact lenses and all that, but you always not be what you're trying to be. So what happened to us is that they came and only took the gold and the silver and imposed the religion and all that, but they also let you know that from now on you are the ugly of the story. Up to now, right? And I think that's a tragedy. And I think that's something that not too many people acknowledge. And it's okay for you not to acknowledge it because you don't live it firsthand and you don't have to, but they don't acknowledge it there. You know, there was a poster of a film festival, and the poster was portraying the moviegoers, and all of them were white. And the only one that was not white was a candy seller who was giving his back and was half hidden by some other person. And there was an extensive study about what that poster from the University La Católica meant. And there were people who would say, it doesn't mean anything. In Peru, there's a humoristic comedian that plays a black man. He paints his face black, he paints his lips red, and he speaks as if he were retarded. And he goes on TV every week. And now that the station that has the program has told him he cannot do that anymore because a lot of people are complaining. And there's a big group of other people who are saying, what's wrong with that? Why are you so much into victimizing yourself? You know, it's just a joke. And when I read those things, I really get very infuriated because it's like a complete lack of respect. There are people in this moment defending that character, a character that no matter how many problems we have in the States, we don't have it anymore. You know, and I'm not saying that here there are less problems, but we are in a point of denial that is really disgusting in Peru. So that is a reality that I wonder, you know, that is my problem. And that's what I talk about. And that's why it's so hard to sell work. But I sell sometimes. At least I get grants and that kind of thing. Any other questions? I'm very honest with how I think. And I don't want you to think that I am trying to pass judgment. I love the United States. I'm here 25 years. And I always say, I love Peru as I love my parents. And I love the United States as I love my husband. And if there's anybody who can say that there's a problem with those two loves, should go to a psychotherapist.